love to be able to celebrate the things you do. You are why we are here. So thank you. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the United States of America, to the republic. All right. Item 1.3 is approval of the agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
All right. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and the agenda is approved. Item 1.4 is the introduction of our ECSD student board member, Esteban Perez. Mr. Anderson.
Yep, that's me. Hello, everyone. Also, welcome. Do the full rotation that way. Welcome to everyone being here. Thank you so much. As has been the case all school year, we're excited to have a student board member with us. And today, that student board member is Esteban Perez, all the way at the end over there. Hello, Esteban. So I'm going to read a few amazing things about Esteban, and then we're going to clap and embarrass him after, all right? So Esteban is currently a senior at Elko High School. He was and currently is involved in the following. He is in student council, and he is for all 4 years a class president. He is in the Honor Society. He is on the boys soccer team, participates in track and field, also did winter cheerleading, and is enrolled in honors, AP, and dual credit courses. While doing all that, Esteban has a GPA of 3.8 and plans to attend the University of Nevada, Reno and pursue a career in our favorite career, which is education. So thank you so much, Esteban, for being here. Let's give him a big warm welcome. Good to have you. And then just, I don't know if you've been filled in, but your perspective is super valued. You are still just Esteban, but as you are here with us today, if you feel like participating and sharing your input, you're speaking on behalf of all students, and we really appreciate that perspective as we deliberate through things. So thank you so much, and feel free to speak out. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, welcome, Esteban. We'll move on to item 1.5, recognition of the March Stars recipients. Mr. Anderson.
Okay. My papers. All righty. So to just real quick, for anyone this is the first time you're ever hearing about the Stars Award. The Stars Award is something we give every month. We give 2 of them. We have roughly 1,100 to 1,200 employees that work for our district, and we give one every month to what is called a classified employee, and one to what is called a certified employee. And so out of 1,200 people almost, that's the odds, so to speak. Like, you got to be pretty exceptional. And these are awards that we just pick because that's my cousin or something like that. We pick these based off of nominations that come from you, from students, from staff members that are their colleagues, from parents. And so it's a great honor for people to be nominated for this. So we have 2 to share with you from this month of March. We were able to go to their schools last week and visit them and surprise them. So the first one, we'll go with this one first. The first one, this is for our classified employee, and her name is Millie Tinkering. Millie's here. Hello, Millie. Right there. And everyone's going to look at you while I read this, okay? So Millie is a preschool teacher at Southside Elementary, and she was nominated by 2 different people. One was a parent of one of her students, and one was a coworker that she works with. So, and neither one of them wanted to know who they were. It's anonymous, but they just couldn't contain how they felt about Millie. So this is what they said. The first one said, Millie is always positive and helps all students. She volunteers to do extra when problems arise and doesn't even blink an eye about it. She knows how to create a positive environment through PBS, which stands for Positive Behavior Support, where students and teachers are valued and respected. So that one came from her colleague. This one is from the parent that nominated her. She said, or they said, Mrs. Tinkering has had 3 of my kids and has been amazing with each one. Watching their progress throughout the years has been amazing because of her. I knew that as a parent, teaching my children what they need prior to kindergarten wasn't in the books for me. Having a teacher that adjusts her teaching for each student to help them get where they need to be is a godsend. Thank you, Millie. And we didn't get all the tears out last week. We got a few more tonight. Millie is so amazing, and everything in here is true. And she's beloved by everyone there at her school. And we're just lucky to have people like Millie working with our kids. And I can't even tell you how fun it was to be there with her kids in her class. The kids were just like hugs and handing her pictures that had stars on them because she's a star. And it was just a real heartwarming experience. So thank you so much for being who you are, Millie, and for serving our kids. Right. Our other one, our certified employee is Miss Sheila Smales. Is Sheila here with? There she is. Hello, Sheila. So Miss Smales is the counselor at Northside Elementary, and she has, well, I guess it's in here, but she's been at Northside for a while. 26 years. She's been at Northside Elementary as their counselor. And so she was nominated by her principal, Miss Krista Chamberlain. Is Krista in here or no? No? Okay, that she doesn't have to be. I just thought she's gonna embarrass you. I was gonna embarrass her at the same time. All right, so the following was written by Miss Chamberlain. I am honored to nominate Mrs. Sheila Smales for the Stars Award. Mrs. Smales, counselor at Northside Elementary, has been an employee of the Elko County School District since 1990, was it 7 or 6? 1997. Sheila is a lifelong Elkoan, graduating from Elko High School and returning to raise her family here, instilling the love of children and counseling with her own daughter, Haley, who's a school psychologist for the district. Mrs. Smales wears many hats as a counselor. Not only does she present her counseling curriculum in all classrooms throughout the school year, she goes above and beyond her role to ensure the day-to-day events of a school run smoothly. Mrs. Smales steps in and substitutes in classrooms for 15 minutes, for an hour, sometimes the entire day when necessary. She helps in the lunchroom, covers recess duties, and this year is on the playground and is one of the first adults our students see as they are welcome to school each day. And these are Mrs. Chamberlain's words, in my role as the principal at Northside, I have relied on Sheila as a confidant, a collaborator, and a problem solver with the various situations that arise daily. She is also available to assist in the school office in my absence. Mrs. Smales connects with the students in so many ways. She has incorporated lunch bunch, small group opportunities for students to address issues, individual counseling, parent counseling, and oversees the student intervention team meetings and all Section 504 documents and meetings. I can list numerous other ways she is invaluable to the students and staff at Northside, but most importantly, it is her calm demeanor, her welcoming way, and her caring personality that she brings to the table every single day to ensure that every child has social and emotional needs met. I can honestly add that you will never meet anyone as caring and concerned about children as Mrs. Smales. And that is what she wrote. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Cameron.
yeah, since I gave an anecdotal reflection on Millie's, at Northside, we had a great time. Krista Chamberlain, Mrs. Chamberlain gathered, I don't know if it was the entire school of Northside, but it was, there were several hundred kids all gathered in the gym. And when she walked in, just eruption of applause and cheers, and the kids were so happy they all wanted to hug her afterwards. She's clearly beloved there at Northside, and it's beyond a luxury to have someone that's committed for so long to one school and is just like basically part of that institution at that point. So Mrs. Smales is you're amazing, and thank you for doing what you do at Northside. All right, there you go.
Thank you. And Millie and Sheila, thank you for what you do for our students every day and for our community as a whole. Those students grow up to be sitting right here that we get to recognize as they're getting ready, some of them getting ready to graduate. So thank you for your work. Thank you for just making our school district and our home a better place. So thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 1.6, recognition of the Elko High School boys basketball state runners up. All right. The way we're going to do this is I'm going to first announce the coaches and the managers, and then we will have Coach Kalikas announce each of the players. We have a certificate for you. And if you just want to come by and shake our hands, we'll congratulate you and we'll celebrate you for your hard work. It was awesome to watch you guys play this year. So congratulations. So we'll start with the coaches and the managers. First, we have Coach Chris Kalikas. Coach Bruce Fisher. Sam Brown. Coach Nathan Kalikas. Coach Kenton Harris. Manager Thor Eckert. All right, and manager Dexter Wallace. And manager Yao Ming.
Coach, do you
All right, Coach, if you want to use the mic. Thank you. Here, I'm gonna give those to you.
Whichever you'd prefer.
So whichever.
Okay. Okay, let's see. We are also regional champions too. So state runner-up. You guys were great. So first one is Luis Rodriguez. Braylon Baggett. Miguel Abarca. As soon as these guys leave, you guys can have all those chairs. So we'll get them out of here fast. Okay. Preston Chamberlain. Dayton McKnight. Anthony Atkins. Peyton Aaron Guena. Bernard Fessenmeyer. ZJ Benitez. Kai Alvarado. Chris Amaya. Fernando Rodriguez. And there's two of them whose mom was honored here tonight. The first one is Josiah Tinkering. Jackson Morrell. Jared Tinkering. And Derek Parker. Thank you very much for honoring us. Thank you.
All right, congratulations again to our EHS boys basketball state runner-up and regional champions. Glad to see you here. All right, our item 1.6, or sorry, on 1.7 is receive a presentation from the Mountain View Elementary Choir. So as the choir comes in, everybody can grab a seat if you would like one. while we're waiting for your students to come in, thank you for being here to support them. This is just the best. We love to see parents support their kids, and we're so excited to have this performance tonight. So thank you for being here. And I got to greet your students in the hallway as I was coming in, and they are awesome. So excited to be here for us, and we're excited to hear them.
See? We're gonna go really. Don't go behind. Okay. Keep going. Are you bigger? Keep going, guys. Still coming. Slide over. Slide over. Go all the way to the back wall. There you go. Are you able? It's okay. So it should be. B groups over here. B groups here. And A group, come on in. Keep going, all the way back in. Come on in. Come on in, guys. A group.
I didn't realize it was that many bigger.
Are you
Now let's play some ball. Batter up now, give it your all. 'Cause you know it gets in that I am the boss. But I decide you will lie or each will be tossed. So faces different, yet we are all the same. We have the same hopes and fears and dreams for the future. Yes, we are the children. We are the children of the world. Yesterday was yours. We have tomorrow, but in between we all must share today. Be careful what you're telling us. We're learning what you're showing us, depending on your guidance to help us on our way. On our way. We are the children of the that we are same. We have the same hopes and fears and dreams for the future. Yes, we are the children. We are the children of the world. Look in our eyes, see all the promise. We have futures in our hands. Give us the courage to face every challenge. Prepare us to risk so we learn how to fly. Watch us fly. We are the children of the world. Yeah, we are same. We have the same hopes and fears and dreams for the future. Yes, we are the children. We are the children of the world. We are the children of the world. We are the children of the world. Yes, we are the children. We are the children of the world. We are the children of the world. We are the children of the world. We are the children of the world.
Wow, thank you. That was awesome. We got to give him another round of applause. That was fantastic. All right. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you so much for bringing your choir. That was fantastic.
Oh my God.
All right. We appreciate the choir being here. And I mean, the meeting just can't get better, right? That was fantastic. All right, we will go ahead and move to item 1.8, input from the public. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public, if any. In the interest of privacy and due process, the public is requested to not raise personnel issues except in a legally noticed closed personnel session of the board. Comments are limited to 3 consecutive minutes. A speaker's time may not be reserved, divided, apportioned, or deferred. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been included specifically on an agenda as an item upon which action will be taken. This is a non-action item. I do have a couple requests for specific agenda items, and I will ask for your public comment on those specific items. Is there anyone who wishes to make a comment on an item that is not agendized tonight? All right, we'll move on to item 2.1, receipt, review, and possible, approval of interlocal agreement between Elko County School District and Nevada Department of Wildlife. This is for possible action.
All right, so a little bit of background here is, so this is actually the first version of like an official contract for this, but currently the Nevada Department of Wildlife has a program where they have essentially, they're mostly working with the Wells ag classes right now, but the Wells ag classes go through the process of raising sagebrush seedlings, and then Endow purchases those from us. So this contract doesn't have us paying for anything. This is a contract for them to pay us, the kids and the program for those, for this, the work they do, the real world application of ag. And it's just an excellent opportunity. And it was, like I said, it was a little more informal before. They were getting, up to a certain amount of money per year, but now they have this agreement here, and it leaves room, I think, to add more schools if they're wanting to do that. I spoke with Mr. Norda this week. Don Norda is the ag teacher, longtime ag teacher out in Wells, and he can't say enough good things about this program. He did let me know that a couple other schools are aware of this opportunity and maybe just trying to figure out how they can do it as well. But that is the nature of this. It's just kind of a formalization of an excellent partnership that has begun with Endow and our school district, and just a great opportunity for our students, like I said, to get real world application of their class.
All right, thank you. Any comments for the board?
So if another school were to be interested, do they have to split that money, or they would get the same, or do you know?
Yeah, so that's what I meant when I said they've left room for it, because the contract has a maximum of $40,000, and that is way more than what they would pay probably the Wells ag classes over the course of that contract. So I think even if we were to add a couple more schools, we probably still wouldn't reach $40,000. They're just leaving that room for expansion.
I didn't know how much that costs.
Yeah, I think Don said maybe around, like, it was about $4,000 or $5,000 a year they were getting, and just depending on kind of how successful they were raising them, it took a couple of years for them to figure it out and figure out the ropes, and they're kind of rocking and rolling now, and are pretty successful with their growing.
I'd just like to add that while I've not directly been involved in the ag program at Wells High School, I have seen and heard the results from people throughout the community, and seen them in action, I guess, so to speak. So I wholeheartedly agree with the program. And Mr. Anderson, thank you for clarifying where the funds were coming from and going to. I've seen many governmental contracts, and this one here kind of threw me because it didn't really say who was getting what. So I appreciate that. And I'll try to remember, maybe public entity one is always the payor. Is that on these interlocal contracts? Is that how that always goes? Maybe Julie knows, or Kayla? Nope. All right. Okay. It was definitely an interesting contract. So thank you for clarifying that they are paying us.
I was a little thrown off when I saw it too. And so it just took a little bit of digging to find out. And I should mention that the money that they pay out goes directly to the ag programs at those schools. They write the check to the county school district, but then those schools have a separate account set up for the receipt of those funds. And so working with Julie, we just make sure that those funds go directly back to those programs.
Madam President, I move that we approve the interlocal agreement between Elko County School District and Nevada Department of Wildlife.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and the motion carries. Item 2.2 is receipt, review, and possible approval of the FY23 Spring Incentive Grant applications for Spring Creek Elementary, Grammar, Owyhee, Carlin, and Spring Creek High School. This is for possible action. Mr. Anderson.
Yes, so as you're probably all aware already, we do twice annual opportunities for our schools to apply for what are called incentive grants. And the district matches, is it up to 5,000 per, Cassie? Yep, so they can apply for a match of up to $5,000 per request to fund certain projects that they feel are essential, but maybe they don't have quite all the funds they need. And one, just as history, every school gets one of those per year, except in the case of combined schools, they're allowed one per semester. And these are the ones that were turned in, completed, et cetera, and have been reviewed from the central office end and are being presented to you for approval so we can get those projects going at those schools. If you have questions about specific applications, I will probably defer to Cassie if she can do that. Okay, thanks.
All right, any questions from the board?
Cassie, just to confirm, the grant itself can have multiple phases or even multiple projects involved, correct? It is not restricted to one grant only?
Correct, multiple uses.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion from the board? How would the board like to proceed?
I'll go ahead and move that we approve the fiscal year 23 spring incentive grant applications for Spring Creek Elementary, Grammar, Owyhee, Carlin, and Spring Creek High School.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Only brief discussion for those schools for next year. Remember, it's $5,000. You can get it matched. We want to see this money used. That's why we approved it for that. So please maximize what you can. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and the motion carries. Item 2.3 is receipt, review, and possible approval of resolution to commit a portion of the general fund ending fund balance for transportation's bus and vehicle replacement cycle not yet funded under the pupil-centered funding plans auxiliary transportation revenue stream.
I think I could do a decent job in showing this, but Julie will do so much better. So I'll let Julie get up there. This is not the first time you'll have heard about what we're trying to accomplish here with making bus purchases, but she'll use better words than I would. So take it away, Julie.
Okay, so under the new, I guess we're in our second year, the people-centered funding plan. Transportation is funded based on the prior 4-year average. So we didn't purchase buses within those 4 years that are in our average for funding for FY24 and 25. So if we get back into our replacement cycle of buying buses every year, then eventually we'll have 5 every year in our 4-year average, and that'll be funded through the people-centered funding plan. So this breaks out most of the cost of 5 buses with the goal of being funded for 5 buses by 2028. And then at that point, we can decide if we need maybe 6 buses a year. It'll be easier to have 1 bus coming out of general fund than coming out of base funding. Instead of right now, we'll have all 5 coming out of base funding until we get our 4-year average.
Any questions from the board?
So was there no option for like a waiver or anything on that since we didn't spend, like they don't?
Waiver?
I mean, like from the state, you're saying it's come from the state from the last 5-year average? Am I misinterpreting what you're saying?
I think so. So
Okay.
we're funded based on a 4-year prior average.
Yes.
So if there's no bus purchases in that, we have no money.
Was that before we started doing pupil center funding? I guess is what was it that way before we started doing the pupil center funding? Is that how they gave us
I
money
don't think
for
we
buses?
had separate funding for transportation
Okay.
under DSA.
So it's a good thing, but a bad thing because we didn't spend money.
this is a good thing that we have the goal in sight of being funded.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I
But-
meant. That's what I meant. Sorry.
yeah.
So perhaps a hold harmless is kind of what you're looking at. Because
Yeah,
we
so like
didn't-
how are we to know, and we were trying to the board is trying to do due diligence and then we get penalized because
we didn't spend money.
We didn't spend money. I remember this game. I remember this game.
Yeah, I mean, there's essentially the assumption that, well, if you didn't spend that money, therefore you don't need
You
that
don't
money.
need it, yeah.
Which,
So let's buy
is-
as many toolkits and buses as we possibly can. So
if that's how they're going to fund you, then yeah. And I should have mentioned that we also have Seth, our Director of Transportation here. So if you had specific questions about the status of our fleet, that sort of thing, he could probably at least speak, yeah, more than generally about it and answer any questions.
I would love to hear where we're at with that, just briefly, like a brief. You don't have to go too specific, but
Thank you, Julie, for not going too far because I'll have some questions for you as well. Maybe one or two.
Okay, so
how old is our fleet, sir?
supposed to be, there you go. Currently where we're at right now is with the 10 buses that we purchased this fiscal year. We're up to 81 in our fleet. We were at 74 prior to that. The numbers don't add up there because we have parked several buses that need engines, transmissions, that stuff. So they're out of our fleet right now currently. So we're not spending the money to revive those where we got replaced with new, and that's the future goals, is not spending the, $20,000 to $50,000 per bus when we need an engine and transmission and stuff like that. So currently where we sit right now, if we do the average lifespan typically of a bus is about 16 years. So if we do 5 per year, we'll cycle through the 80 in 16 years. So that's why we're shooting for that goal. Currently, we have 21 buses that are well past 16 years old. The oldest bus in the fleet is 24. And then we got about 10 that are in 23 years old. Then we start creeping up 20, getting closer and closer. Over the next 5 years, we'll have about, I think it was about 41% will be due past 16 years. So it's going to take us 5 years just to catch up to the cycle where we need to be, to where we're not pushing them past that 16-year mark too far, because that's typically about where we start seeing our maintenance costs skyrocket back up. So from new purchase, about 16 years, the costs continually drop for operation of the bus. But after we hit that, we start climbing back up rapidly. So that's what we're looking for, that five bus cycle a year. So.
Thank you.
Seth, with the 81, assuming that drivers are in abundance, is 81
Hopefully.
enough?
Currently, yes. 2 years ago, before we got to 10, we were operating without any spare buses in our fleet. We were basically scrambling around trying to keep everything running. But right now we have 10 spare buses with the 81. So we have enough for Spring Creek, Elko, Wells, Owyhee has a spare. Wendover's spare bus is actually very nice. So they use that as a spare trip and spare route bus if they have a breakdown in that. So yeah, 81 will currently suffice us for the next few years of expansion. I don't see us, unless we grow substantially, and then we'll have to relook. But in the next 5 years, I think we'll be where we need to be. So,
Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions from the board?
Julie, briefly, ending balance. What is 1% of our ending balance roughly? So, or phrase another way.
When we're at 13 million fund balance last I checked.
Okay.
So,
So 900,000 would be roughly 8%. Okay,
yeah.
great. Thank you.
She doesn't love the.
I like my
Yeah.
calculator.
Sure. Yeah.
She wants it exact.
Right.
Yeah, I had roughly 7 last week.
Great. Okay.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, we do have someone who'd like to make a public comment, looks like.
My name is Justine Powley. I actually am a school bus driver, and that's why I eked back in here because I wanted to hear about this. But hi, Seth. Just as I was thinking, just today, my bus was put out of commission because it was shifting automatically from 5th gear to 2nd gear. And anyway, so just today, and then last week, my husband's bus was actually put out of commission. Both of them are the 23, 24-year-old buses. So I'm thinking with the amount of drivers versus buses, I don't understand that fully and completely, but I am hoping that that means that we can get more buses soon, because as the bus drivers, we are the newest. But I am hoping that these buses that we are operating that are that old can be replaced fairly soon. So anyway, that was just my input on this situation.
All right, Justine, thank you. And thanks for being a driver. We need them.
Yes, thank you so much.
My husband and I are crazy about this job.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
I'll just give one practical application too. The extra buses are pretty important. We had the day when buses were freezing up and not working. It was only because we had a couple extra that we were able to get kids to school mostly on time, because Ken, Cody, and I, we actually were late to the strategic planning meeting, but we jumped in a car, went up, got extra buses, drove over to Spring Creek, got kids to school, and they were just a tad late. But if we didn't have extra buses, they either don't go that day or it's hours while you wait for the other ones to come back and then go back out. And so it is important to have extra sitting by.
Thank you. How would the board like to proceed?
Madam Chair, move to approve the resolution to commit a portion of the general fund ending fund balance for transportation's bus and vehicle replacement cycle not yet funded under the pupil-centered funding plan's auxiliary transportation revenue stream.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Julie, I just want to say thank you for working on this so that we can get out of our hold harmless status in as many areas as possible. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and the motion carries. All right, item 2.4 is receipt, review, and possible approval of proposed changes to policy IHC, academic achievement class rankings. All right, Mr. Anderson.
Yep. So this is one we had first reading of or presentation only last Monday. So we discussed some potential edits to what was there, and those edits are reflected in here. And I don't know if you have any more discussion. Ray is squished in the middle. Maybe we can get, he can get a microphone and talk if you have any questions for him on this. But yeah, ready for any questions if you have them.
Sorry, questions from the board? All right, we do have one request for public comment that we will take before we move on.
Yes, it's on. Thank you, President Bastrop, members of the board, Mr. Perez, Mr. Anderson, and Ms. Gray. For the record, my name is Lee Hoffman. I hope Mr. Anderson wasn't too nervous with me standing over there behind him earlier tonight.
Cassie's got my back.
You rightly recognized the high school basketball team for its second place finish at state. You rightly recognized champions in wrestling and people who finished first, second, and third in FBLA and FFA and so on. The one issue I have with the proposed change is prohibiting any schools from naming valedictorians and salutatorians and so on. And I know that that hasn't been done locally for quite some time. But I think it's a mistake if we don't equally recognize first place academically and second place academically. I think those students who work hard for all those years through high school deserve the same opportunity for public recognition and acknowledgement as do the athletes. So I hope that there is some way, and again, it doesn't seem to me like you have to prohibit schools from recognizing valedictorians, but I just hope that there is some way to equally recognize our academic champions publicly. And I was unable to be here last Monday when you had your meeting moved to make that comment, because I had another meeting that I was chairing and I had to be at. So I apologize, I wasn't able to make the comment at that time. But again, I hope you'll take that into consideration, because those students equally deserve recognition. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hoffman. All right, any other comments or questions from the board?
I had brought a similar thing up previously, and I know, Mr. Anderson, you'd said that we don't do that. We do have a number one ranking, correct? So we'll have a class rank of 1.
Yes, so ways in which students are recognized for their excellence in academics, that there are indicators of number 1 versus number 2, number 3, like, and the kids know which one they are, and that is recognized. Kids wear stoles, kids wear medals. At graduation, they have cords that indicate their academic standing. So while they may not have a big thing that drapes down and says number 1 on it, it is indicated on their transcript. It's indicated in the receipt of their scholarships, and of course they are adorned with various things, whether it's National Honor Society, Merit Scholar. There are ways to symbolize that and kind of celebrate their academic excellence on graduation day that way. So while I am also historically used to those titles, I would say it is probably not an accurate characterization to say that there is no recognition of those accomplishments. Those are in abundance, in my opinion.
Just not with the words
Just not
that
with
have
those exact
traditionally been
words.
used
Yes.
on that. Okay.
Other words and other adornments.
Okay.
Are they recognized on the program?
By class rank?
I'm not sure. Paul, you've been at a lot of graduations recently. Is there any sort of?
At Spring Creek High School, they were still like they still gave their speeches. The number 1 and the number 2 gave speeches, and I think that's similar across other schools. We also recognize, like, if we have a state academic team champion in one of our seasons, we'll get that information and we'll recognize those kids too. But we don't. Some schools do like a top 10%. They might recognize, designate some other way, but we don't list them by ranking, because I don't want to be number 252 or have my kid be number 252 as much as I'd like to see him 1.
Yeah.
I just meant, how they put a little asterisk or something.
So each graduation looks a little bit different. Like, I know when I was in Wells that the kids that gave speeches, it wasn't number 1 and number 2. It was the student body president. Like, the kids actually, I think, chose who they wanted to speak for them.
We designate like the kids who are honors graduates or who earn the advanced diploma. So there are asterisks that mark certain things, but as far as marking the specific number, I don't think anybody does that anymore.
If kids have certain seals, like they got the college and career ready, or the CTE, or the seal of bilingualism, or like we recognize those things as well when we announce their diplomas.
Can I just ask what our student member thinks? Okay.
So, like, during assemblies too, we recognize our athletes, but not only that. Not only them for having good grades, but also we have this thing called the academic E, where we recognize all the students who were able to maintain a certain GPA, and we've been doing it like for the fall, for the winter, and then for the spring. So even though there not be a way to recognize them, like how he said, during school, kids do get recognized.
That's great.
And another way we could recognize is we do have some of our athletes who make, it's called the All-State Academic Team. 4.0 kids. We do have those that come through each season at every one of the schools. So if you'd like, I'll start accumulating that information at the end of the seasons and bringing them for you as well.
We've done those recognitions here before too, if kids are, if the whole team is the academic state champs as well. So, yep.
Well, don't they do something for like regalia for other groups as well? So like music.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Or, you know, all that stuff
Tri-Am.
too as well.
The Tri-Am Society and most of those organizations, or a lot, I won't say most, but a lot of those organizations have their own like honor society or their own honors program. And so those kids do, when they go through graduation, they'll have either cords or something pinned to them that signifies what they've accomplished.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Ray, briefly. So I want to make, and I asked this last time, but I want to make sure if I scored a 90.0 in my course and Dr. Byers scored 100% in my course, and we're all, and that was in every course, and we took no other differences in honors courses or baccalaureate, college courses, anything else, we'd have the same GPA. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Great ventriloquism. Is there a reason for that? Because I could have sworn decades ago when I was there that it was split. If you got an A-, you didn't get a 4.0.
As far as the reason, I don't know. That's been going on a lot longer than I was making those decisions, but I can't remember. So in my academic career that stretches back into the 80s, I don't ever remember getting different credit for a different level of grade. It was either A, B, C, D, or F.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, looks like we have one more public comment.
Lynn Hoffman. I didn't sign up. I'm sorry about that. My academic career began in 1964. Long time ago. And I had the honor of graduating as valedictorian of Elko High School of the class of 1968. And that, to me, was such a huge honor. It was just so wonderful. And again, there are quite a few schools in Nevada, in Nevada that do have valedictorians and salutatorians that, especially in Clark County and some of the other rurals. So I'm hearing and I've been reading, this is just not done anymore, but it is allowed in Nevada and it is done in lots of places. I asked another school board member from probably like 8 or 10 years ago, I said, when did this start? And he didn't really know. He really didn't know when Elko County was no longer doing it. I would love it if you would have like maybe the top 3 or 4 kids. If you're going to put this in your policy, the top 3 or 4 kids, invite them to come, just like you do with top teams and, you know, people who've gotten state awards, and honor them publicly. Maybe not at maybe not at the graduations, but I think education should be about school. It should be about reading and writing, and we should want to do that. You probably don't want somebody who's 250th to have their names there. That's not fun. But please think about honoring those that are really working hard. Thank you.
Thank you. How would the board like to proceed?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the proposed policy changes to IHC academic achievement class rankings.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
I think Ms. Hoffman brings up a good point that there is a way for us to be able to recognize those academic champions. I don't know that needs to be built into policy because I don't think we have a policy where we recognize our athletic or extracurricular folks either. And so I think as this board, we have that ability to do so. And I think that that's a great idea we know class rankings prior to graduation. Obviously graduation, there's a lot of things going on. I don't know timing of it, but I would like to see that perhaps we do have a room full of our top academics in the county.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good idea as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna echo the same.
Yeah. All right, any other discussion before we vote? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and the motion carries. Item 2.5 is receipt review and a possible approval of proposed policy IEE, instructional arrangements release time. This is for possible action. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. This is another one we heard for first presentation last week, and a couple of the additional edits too are we have language that talks about accountability for attendance at those activities. There was the desire to have something in there releasing the district from financial responsibility for any of those activities. And then since it was something that we couldn't really come to a consensus on, we had varying opinions. Of note is 3C, where we took out the 1/4 mile and simply put the attendance zone. And that it must be, the location approved by the student's principal. And so that is what we landed on. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything, I'm ready for you.
All right, any questions from the board?
No questions, just appreciation for staff and getting those changes in there. I think that's important that those were there. I think the compromise of the attendance zone works well. Even though I was the one that said, if people want to drive into town and then go back out, great, to Spring Creek or other areas. But I think an attendance zone is fine. And I think there are ways that if somebody really wanted to, they could petition it to petition the board to make an exception or to modify the amendment or modify the policy as needed.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or questions from the board?
I have a question that I don't think I asked last time. So if it's a 9th grader, do they have a free period to be able to leave school? Or are they just?
It's one of their electives.
Yeah, it would be one of their, basically sacrificing one of their elective periods to do that.
But we're not calling it their elective.
No, they don't get credit for it. This is because we have a surplus of credits if someone goes all 4 years, 7, that's 28. So they have, is it 5 they can spare? Or is it 23 credits? Yeah, they have 5 they can spare. So this, provided that they're keeping up with their classes and passing them, then they have that kind of leeway to do so. So they would have to sacrifice, I don't know, whatever elective they might normally take.
Okay, because I don't like it being called elective because it makes it sound like they're getting credit for it.
Can you tell me where you're
No,
seeing
just when
that?
you were saying it, I'm not saying it's in there.
Oh,
Not allowed, but I know I asked that one last time because the people that were speaking publicly kept referring to it as an elective.
oh, sure. I mean,
I want to
it's
make sure that everyone understands this is not an elective class. They're not getting a credit.
right. It's elective in as much as they are electing to take that instead of an elective at high school. So yeah, we're probably conflating language there, but correct. We do not award credit for this. It does not count as a class.
Okay.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Sorry, I should have also asked this earlier. Can release time be any time of day? I know it's generally morning, but do we address morning in here?
We don't, and the release time wouldn't necessarily have to be either in the morning or at the end of the day, just depending on the arrangement that is agreed upon by the site administration and the other end, the other party.
Thank you.
Yep. So if I could add one more
Please,
thing,
yep.
this is something I've got questions from lots of people, and I just want to make sure it's clear that this policy does not grant the right of everyone to have this. You will notice that in each scenario, it says authority to grant approval for this is vested in the principal. If in the principal's opinion, this is not in the best interest of the student, it does not fit with the schedule the right way, and in their opinion, it compromises the student's academics in any way, because of, they're not making it back on time, et cetera, the principal has the right to either not grant it right off the bat or to remove that it's better voiced as a privilege rather than a right. I had that concern with people of, well, what if they want to hold it in this place? And what if they want to do that? Then the answer to that is, if the principal doesn't think it's a good idea, they can say, we're not doing that. We want to make sure there's a path for requesting it, but it's going to require that collaboration with the principal, but the district is allowing that arrangement to happen should it be a mutually agreed upon arrangement.
All right. Any other questions? We do have a request for public comment. All right, Quinn Westmoreland.
Thank you. And I appreciate the board and the school district moving so quickly. I know that time is of the essence in this matter, and trying to make sure that all the courses are fit into the schedule. And I appreciate your comment. I don't know what to call it exactly, a non-elective. So anyway, on that note, really, I think 3 minutes goes by quickly last time, and there were a couple of points that I think were just unmade or maybe not followed through all the way. So a couple of those points were, this would be open to any student of any denomination. We feel that this is an opportunity for them where maybe they would be able to learn something that is not normally in their school curriculum. And had they had the opportunity, we would like this board to know that that would be made available to anyone, not just those of our personal faith, as well as, I think in just discussing a few things with some of our other folks who are over this program, we would make that church building available for anyone who had a structured program similar to this seminary program. And so just wanted to make sure that those clarifications were noted. I know that there might be some travel issues and whatnot. And so through working together, I think we would make that opportunity available to anyone who would have a desire to do that. So those were the last couple of comments I had that maybe weren't addressed last time. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other discussion from the board? How would the board like to proceed?
Madam Chair, move to approve proposed policy IEE instructional arrangements release time.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion in multiple seconds. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor of approval, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and the motion carries. Item 2.6 is receipt, review, and possible approval of proposed changes to policy BDA, board meetings, regular board meetings. This is for possible action.
Right, again, one we reviewed last week, and the recommendations were made. Trying to find the exact language, but the recommendations were made that we would move to the first and third Tuesdays as opposed to the second and fourth, as to not conflict with other local government meetings. And the other recommendation was that if there was an appetite to move the time, we could move to 4:30. I think we're probably fine at 5:30 personally, but it's the will of the board. And then the final recommendation is that we would prefer not to make these changes until starting July, because we do have meetings set already in Wells and Owyhee, and we've only got a few months left of the school year. Maybe just finish out this schedule and then start it in July. So that is it.
All right. Questions or discussion from the board?
So Justin Noon didn't get any traction.
No traction.
I mean, I'm okay with it. But
split the difference, 2:30.
The language in here, there shall be only one meeting held in months of July and December. Shall is a very strong word. And I like that the preceding portion of that says unless the Board of Trustees votes otherwise. Obviously, we can vote otherwise, but that may be wise to perhaps move that section or otherwise put in here that, yes, if the Board of Trustees says we need to have an extra meeting in July, where are extra meetings covered in policy? Does anybody know that? I mean, I know we have the ability, the president has the ability to.
Any
call
extra
that-
meeting would be
that
a
meeting.
special meeting.
And so
not
I
a
guess where's the
regular- and that's
special meeting?
addresses
Thank you. That
regular
was-
meetings.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. If you want, maybe we could, if we want to make any edit there, we could say there shall be only be one scheduled meeting.
I think regular meeting.
A
would work.
regular meeting is fine. And then of course, if we do need to have a special meeting, I mean, if we just go back to 2 years ago when you appointed me, I think we had 3 meetings in the month of December. And so we did that. But if you would prefer, we add the word regular right there. Cassie can make a note of that. Obviously, put it in your motion if that's what you want to do. And I think that would satisfy that.
All right, discussion from the board. Desire to proceed.
Madam Chair, move to approve proposed changes to policy BD, BDA, board meetings, regular board meetings with the minor change in that section 1, regular meetings. Last paragraph, halfway through, it read, there shall only be one regular meeting held in the months of July and December of each year.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
Good job.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye, and that motion carries. So for those who are concerned about us changing the time, it remains at 5:30. All right, we'll move on to item 2.7, receipt, review, and discussion of proposed changes to policy EDCB, student transportation management, safety, bus conduct.
All right, so this is a policy that
Oh, I apologize. This is a non-action item. This is discussion, or this is an information item.
just, yes, this is first presentation. Thank you.
That's great because I was tired of making motions.
Don't lie on
Yeah,
record.
you're
buddy.
doing great, Matt. So this is a new policy and very plainly put, it is to comply with NRS 392-4636. Really nothing that's in here is a change to what we're practicing. It's just putting it in writing because NRS says the Board of Trustees of a school district shall have a policy. So this is our policy, and I can just note that there's nothing new that we're doing in here. This is all the same stuff. It's just written down. So if you have any questions about that, I can answer. And I suppose if I need to defer to Seth, I can do that too.
All right, are there any questions or comments from the board on this one?
I have a comment. After looking it all over, the only thing that I feel like should be changed is at the very bottom D. It says if more than one category is implicated, the principal shall determine the appropriate action based on the most serious offense. And on the bus conduct reports, the driver will note the problem behavior, and it's anywhere from disruption, inappropriate, eating, stealing, disrespect, bullying, teasing, technology, property damage, harassment, language, tobacco, alcohol, weapons, safety violation, and others. And they mark those on this bus conduct report. And so my only thing with that, and not because I've ever had a child get a bus conduct report, my only concern with that is that if, let's say there's hopping around from seat to seat on a bus and there's disruption or something like that happen, and a bus driver decides to mark that down as, for instance, property damage or harassment or a safety violation, where it reads, if more than one category is implicated, the principal shall determine the appropriate action based on the most serious offense. I think where that's the, more serious offense, if they marked down harassment, then they would be getting disciplined on that. versus I would like it to see, or I would like to see it say, if more than one category is implicated, the principal shall, after thoroughly assessing the details of the incident, determine the most appropriate action based on the offense they deem to be most serious. So that gives the principal some room to kind of assess what happened on the bus and whether or not the action kind of fit into whatever the bus driver marked. And then since they're the ones that are, I guess, coming up with the disciplinary action, it helps kind of give them more, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but
more leeway.
So if I can jump in.
on interpret or on assessing kind of the situation. And
yeah, thank you for your comments, Brooke. Seth he'll probably just nod his head as I'm saying this stuff, but you know, the bus drivers recognize that they are the bus drivers, and that is their expertise. His expertise is transportation director. The site administrator's expertise is instructional leadership, and they do a lot of discipline stuff as well. And so regardless of what, if it's a bus driver that fills out a discipline report, or a teacher that fills out a discipline report, or a paraprofessional, in the end, the final say of that, it doesn't matter what box they check or how big the font is that they write in or what color pen they use. The administrator makes that determination. So the wording that you used does, if we're putting something here that is an accurate reflection of practice, the wording that you used is a more accurate reflection than if that was your interpretation upon first reading, that we're just going to take that and be like, well, it says harassment, they harassed. That's not how that goes as an administrator. You ask the questions you need to ask, you find out what actually happened, and you make the most appropriate decision based on your investigation. So I think your wording does reflect practice better than what is written here.
okay. Yeah, that was my only thoughts. And I just thought if it was reworded, then it kind of goes along with practice better than what it states in the policy.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, suggestions on this?
I'd see in the same clause, I feel like it might tie the principal's hands a little. Let's see if you get a kid that hits for the cycle on the bus, you know, steals somebody's candy bar and smacks another girl on the head and maybe does some other disruptive stuff, you know, and you get the whole list of them, and the principal only gets to pick one too. That I don't think that's our intent, is it?
Well, so Jeff, again, talking about personal practice, we actually do, I don't know if it's written in policy, but it's certainly practice that we do not multiply discipline children. If a kid gets in a fight in a classroom while he's fighting, he accidentally, you know, steps on someone's water bottle, and that therefore ruins the bottle that they paid money for. They also are using some pretty foul language while they're fighting. And I don't know, you can get creative with that scenario. We do not continue to, okay, well, guess what? You're suspended for the fighting. You're paying that kid $2 for his water bottle you stepped on. And then when you come back, you're having detention because you had a nasty mouth while you were fighting. That's not how that works. They're going to, in that scenario, they're going to get suspended for fighting. And then they're going to come back, and we're going to welcome you back to the community. And we're going to go forward expecting you never to do that thing in classrooms again. So that's, yeah, we're not trying to just bludgeon them with consequences. We do just stick to the one that is most egregious, and that's what they get the consequence for. That covers that other stuff too.
Just playing devil's advocate here is that, you know, you get somebody who does something early on in the trip and knows they're in trouble. They got nothing to lose.
They could get more to lose. Yeah.
Well, except they may get sent home.
They could. They could escalate it. But yeah, it's so hard to parse scenarios because every scenario is handled so individually. But that is the intent, to not grab onto multiple consequences or multiple offenses, unless it makes sense. We put a lot of trust in our administrators to make the right choice when it comes to discipline and consequences.
And Seth, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've not been in this situation ever, because I've gotten really good bus routes, but we can request the student be removed as well. Just get them off the bus. So if it escalates and he, you know, if he's only got a single and he's going for a double, we can probably stop him before he gets to third base. Or before he gets a triple.
So the request can be made. It may not necessarily be granted, though. We do have a discipline matrix that has a series of steps as to, you know, there are opportunities given. And then depending on the nature of the offense too, like someone talking too much or bouncing around too much, don't bother requesting they get removed until we're way down the line with that. But if someone, I don't know, runs up there and jumps on the bus driver's back while he's driving and nearly causes an accident, we might escalate a removal at that point. Again, discretion for the professionals who handle that.
All right, any other suggestions on that policy before we move on?
My only question was just about for the driver themselves, under 2E, as far as them stopping vicinity, securing the vehicle. They get training on this type of stuff. Is that correct?
Yes, there is training for all bus drivers, and maybe just, there's probably a little bit of an assumption in there, but I will help kind of a view behind the curtain where it says secure the vehicle. Secure the vehicle is a series of steps that a bus driver takes, and Seth could go through all of the steps, but basically what they're doing is they're handling it in a calm manner where they can secure the bus. It's not moving anymore, and they can notify authorities as need to be notified. So yeah, the phrase secure the bus means a lot of things that happen kind of all in a quick sequence.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you. If there's no other discussion from the board, we'll move on to item 2.8. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
I guess.
You're good. Nope. Go
Yep.
ahead.
Okay. Receipt, review, and discussion of proposed changes to policy IHA, academic achievement grading system. This is also a non-action item.
All righty. This one, IHA, Ray, you're gonna be here to answer questions if they need it. But there are some like minor little edits here, but the major adjustment here is the state frequently changes the value of a end of course exam and what percentage of a high school student's grade that will constitute. And so instead of we have wording in here that just basically indicates that it's going to follow whatever the state has at that time. And this all may be a moot point soon because there's a potential for the state to get rid of end of course exams as well. They love to change things and makes those fluctuate. So the wording now makes it so that we wouldn't have to adjust it over and over again, unless of course they get rid of EOCs entirely, in which case we'll have to readdress this policy.
All right, any questions on this one?
Briefly at the bottom, the top of page 2, grades will reflect the 30/40 or 30/70. So is that weighting no longer happening in Elko County School District? Because I can tell you my
It
kids
is,
have.
it states it further down.
Yeah, it was in there twice. So it just got
Okay, I
removed.
apologize. All right, thank you. 'Cause, yeah,
bottom of page 3, it's there.
trying to get my kids to get that. It was, I fought with them all, however many years we've had. So great. All right, thank you.
I should say too that this is a very kind of non-substantive change to this. Any major change to IHA that would constitute like a total kind of new like way of thinking about grading, we as district administration would not just make that change. This policy is historically kind of developed by a committee of teachers from all grade levels and from across the district, and we make sure that their input is pretty key in the development of, in the development of any big changes to this policy. So normally that would be the case if we were doing something big, but in this case, we're just kind of saving ourselves time and frequent, at least yearly revisits to this. So hopefully this is a revisit where we can leave behind.
All right, any other questions or suggestions on this one?
I just want to add to what Mr. Anderson just said. The committee spent a long time working on all of this and piloting and trying to get parents on board for what 1, 2, 3, and 4 meant, because everybody wants to associate it with a letter grade. It was a long time. We spent a long time on it.
All right. If there are no other items on 2.8, we'll move on to 2.9, receipt of quarterly update reports.
All right, so back in September, we were doing great on big quarterly updates. We kind of have forgot to do them. I said we wouldn't do them in big anymore, and we just progressively do them, and we've sort of forgot. We've got an established schedule now. So you get to see Stephen and Mac today as quarterly updates, and then we should have quarterly updates from different people at every meeting. So we're back on track with that. Go ahead, Stephen.
Good evening, everybody. If you guys look at that attachment on there, I'm going to add one right in the beginning that wasn't on there. You guys were probably wondering where it was at. And that's the Adobe boiler replacement. That one, I just want to let you guys know, after this harsh winter that we've had, and it just doesn't seem to be stopping, we've decided to move that project to the summertime. So we're planning that first or second week of June to start that project. The design for the fire alarm upgrades at Jackpot and West Wendover, both of those are complete, and bidding will take place on the 21st of this month. Just to refresh you guys' memory, West Wendover High School was a 28-year-old school, and those fire alarm systems typically last about 15 years. So that one's definitely well due. And then Jackpot is a 39-year-old school. So yeah. And then CTE lab for Spring Creek, we've already started design, and then I'll give you guys a timeline. We shouldn't be done with the design within like the next month or two, and then potentially start bidding in January with a completion date of August. So this January.
Sorry.
Yeah.
This January. We're in April. We're waiting.
We would have to wait until then.
So bid in January of 24, completion August of 24, roughly?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Maintenance and repairs. We've completed the asphalt maintenance and repairs for 22, 23. And then again, talking about this winter, you guys have probably seen it everywhere, but we've got major heaving of concrete and asphalt failing. We've been trying to do our best to repair with what we have. We've made some cold patch repairs this winter, but it's kind of wreaked havoc on all the sites. We've received a total of 614 work orders so far since we've implemented the new work order program. It gives us access to be able to track how many hours are allocated to a work order, which site it's going to. And then of those work orders right now, we've completed 463 of them. Safety and security, this is another capital projects plan that we had. And that was the TCU intercom upgrades and security lockdowns. It's about a 2.5 to 3 year project. We plan to start this all summer break once parts arrive. We had actually planned on starting this Christmas during Christmas break, but the parts on electronics seem to be getting delayed, but as soon as those parts arrive, we'll start. And then also we've talked about the security upgrades at all the schools as far as cameras and RFID card swiping. We've received some help with local businesses and secured funding for that whole entire project. And we plan to start all that this summer too. And then with Cassandra's help, Spring Creek High School, Spring Creek Middle School, and Southside Elementary TCU intercom upgrades were funded through a COPS grant that she had acquired for the school district. So hats off to her on that one. Future projects, after we finish the fire alarm upgrades for this year, Julie's started the capital funding oversight committee, and I think aligned with MGT's report, we'll be able to develop a plan and see which projects we need to tackle first. Also, we've scheduled the 500 to 18,000 gallon tanks for Spring Creek to be removed this summer. So all of that will be remediated and probably completed within like a 3-month period.
I want to jump in and say one thing too. Stephen mentioned that, and under the safety and security projects, that with the help of some local businesses, I can't remember if I've mentioned this before or not, but just this week we received the official letter of award. And Nevada Gold Mines has generously agreed to and awarded us with $1 million towards cameras and secure digital entries for over a 2 to 3 year timeframe, to make sure all of our campuses have those things. So when that project is completed, and that's something that goes back to a while that we thought we were gonna be able to do that, and then funding disappeared. And so through leveraging grants and Cassie's awesome work, combining that with donation from NGM, we're gonna be able to do that for all of our campuses, and we'll be starting that immediately. So big thanks to Nevada Gold Mines. We'll continue to we're going to come up with great ways to recognize them and show our appreciation, but really appreciate their partnership and their investment in our schools and in the safety of our kids.
That's great. Any questions for Stephen?
Stephen, on the 2 designs for the fire alarm, West Wendover indicates that bidding will begin March 21st. Is that a sealed bid as well?
It's a sealed bid, and then after that, you guys can approve it or disapprove it.
Okay. And so the sealed bids will be received March 21st for jackpot.
And
is it
West Wendover.
Okay. So it's the same. I just want to make sure.
2 separate projects.
But the
both
bids are
same
both
day.
received on the 21st.
Yes.
Great. Okay. I just didn't know if the process began on the 21st for Wendover and ended on the 21st for jackpot. Thank you. And then design for the Spring Creek CTE. Did you say that that'll be completed by April?
January.
So design won't be completed until January.
Right.
Okay. That's where I was misunderstanding.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Because I was like, why are we waiting so long between finish and great?
Start, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Actually, I am curious, why is it so long?
Why is it so long?
Yeah.
I think well, I guess for one, there's soil analysis reports that we have to do, geotechnical reports that we have to do. And those just take time for us to get back. So between that and facilitating the exact location of it, tying into utilities and making sure all of our ducks are in a row before we say this is exactly where this building is going to permanently stay. That's why it takes so long.
Just had a little concern because of the ending time being August, that could really play into where kids start school.
Yeah, it will be. And I'll let you guys know that we're actually looking at another location for that building. And right now, you thinking about school and the location that it was going to be placed at, that would impede traffic in that area. I mean, the other CTE buildings are there right now. So with that being said, we've talked to our designer from Design West, has talked to contractors, and he thinks it's definitely feasible, but that's a short turnaround time. And I think if we were able to make that happen, we would make sure that there was a safe plan in practice for all the students that are there right now. So
thank you.
I don't know if that was the answer you were looking for, but.
No, I'm both here and in the private sector. I'm always continually frustrated with construction.
Right.
And the length of time and the cost involved. And it does, I'll just be honest, that seems like an awful long time for to me, what seems to be a fairly straightforward project, but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Let's get it done right.
Yeah. And this is us cutting it pretty close in their eyes too. So.
All right, Stephen, thank you. It looks
Thank
like
you,
our
guys.
next report is IT. Mac?
Okay, so I have a few items I want to just go over real quick and I'll get through it. The first thing I want to talk about is the student one-to-one program that we've started. We have partnered with Trafera and they have been a tremendous partner. They do things as far as white glove service. So when we order the Chromebooks, when we receive them, they are already set up and configured and we just get to hand them out to the schools. That saves us probably about 3 weeks of work. It's really beneficial for my team and everything else we have to get done. When they do repair services, those repair services can be done in-house. They send us LCD panels, they send us keyboards, they send us motherboards, all that kind of stuff. So if we have the time, we can go ahead and replace it in-house and get it back out to the school. If we don't, we send it to Trafera and they take care of it and then send it back to us. It's probably about a 50-50 time frame chance of us doing it here or sending it out. Just depends on the time of year. Trafera covers device defects, accidental damage, theft. So it's been really a really great program with us going one-to-one since COVID. This year we have sent them 479 devices. Last year we did about 357, and we had last week when I checked, we had 27 out to be repaired. Since we are now one-to-one, we have to worry about rotation. These devices don't last forever, so we're looking at around a 4 to 6 year replacement cycle, just depending on budgets and how the devices we're ordering are holding up, that kind of thing. All our Chromebooks, since we started doing one-to-one, have been purchased with SR funds or grant funds. Eventually, we're probably going to have to start bringing them out of general funds, but that's where we're at so far. For the 23-24 school year, we decided to go with Lenovo instead of Dell, and I ended up saving about $170,000 just by switching to a different brand. All the same specs, they're still all touchscreen, they're still all a 2-in-1, just a different brand. So switching from student devices to staff devices, since COVID, we have decided to go with laptops rather than desktops for teachers and staff members. The reasons are portability, lets them take them to trainings, take them wherever they need to be to do work from, whether they're working home or not home at school, whatever. We have around 800 certified teachers, so our rotation is going to be about 200 laptops a year, doing a 4-year rotation. And then for admins, it's about 10 to 15, just depending on the year. Okay, now going to projects that we have coming up. We have E-rate projects that are actually, these are current projects. Currently, I'm working with Frontier, Uprise, and WANRAC to get fiber into Flagview, which is currently on the radio. Well, all these are on radios right now. Flagview, Wells, and Windover. Leveraging E-rate funds and state funds, all special construction for those projects have been covered 100%. So the only thing we have is our annual or our monthly rates. There we go, monthly rates. Windover just barely got the permits to go underneath the freeway. Once they complete that last portion of the fiber, it's going to be completed and we should be able to bring them up. Wells is still waiting on NDOT permitting before they start the project. And then Frontier, I haven't heard a lot from them. I know they have the project on their list, but I haven't received any updates from them yet. But all 3 of these projects have to be completed by June 30th. That was category 1 projects. Category 2 projects for this year, we're replacing all the Wi-Fi access points in all the classrooms district-wide. It's down to 6 to 8 weeks or 4 to 6 weeks right now before we actually receive those devices and can start swapping them out. Upcoming E-rate projects, we have category 1 projects. I never thought I would be able to say this, but we have Oahe, Montello, Ruby Valley, Mound Valley and Jackpot, all getting new fiber. We put in a RFP with the state, so it's a statewide initiative. And we had 3 bidders and we're able to get this project done. So within the next year, we should have fiber, and that's going to bring the fiber back to here, back to this building, or bring their connection back here. So we won't have those sites VPNing in anymore. Their connections are going to be more stable. It's going to open up a lot of opportunities for those rural schools. And their connection speeds are anywhere from 25 meg to a gig, just depending on the site, number of students, that kind of stuff.
Hey, Mac.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Is Independence Valley also included in that list of?
Independence already has a 25 gig meg
there. Okay.
fiber
Perfect.
on
Thank
there. Yep. With those schools, like I said, we did do E-rate funding, recovered 70% for those projects. The state is doing a 10% match, and then they're going to go ahead and pick up the rest of it because we did it through the state RFP, just like the projects that are currently going. And then upcoming category 2 projects. So in category 2, they give us a budget of how much we can use depending on student numbers. Right now we have roughly $1.2 million in there. Any project that we do out of those funds, we have to cover 30% from the district. So some of the projects I'm looking at doing are switch upgrades. Our switches we installed these switches when I started 15 years ago. So they're getting to the point to where we don't have, we can't update them. They're getting to the point to where HP doesn't want to replace them when they go down. They're needing to be done. Network cabinets, some of the network cabinets are really shallow and they won't fit the new equipment in them. So we're going to replace the ones as needed. And then fiber, I'm finally back to this since pre-COVID. We're working on getting the rest of the schools moved from multi-mode fiber to single mode fiber, which will inside the school allow us to do a 10 gig backbone. So from cabinet to cabinet to cabinet, we'll be able to get 10 gig all the way basically from the classroom back to the internet. So those are definitely needed for future expansions and future needs. So with the funding that we have available, I can only do probably about 3 or 4 schools a year, and we'll just get through them as we can do it.
All right, any questions or comments for Mac?
I have quite a few. I have a couple, not a lot.
Go ahead.
Are these new, have you noticed a difference in the durability of the new Chromebooks, the Levano Chromebooks? Are they better, the same, equal? Like, don't know yet.
I had one demo and I sent it home with a student for about 3 weeks and had no complaints.
Okay, all right.
So
let me find my. Is there anything we can do with Frontier? Like, is there anyone we need to contact? Anything we need to do?
Yes, I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm pushing and the state's pushing.
Okay.
We're working through it, but
Okay. I mean, I figure you were. I just wanted to make sure when you made that comment, like, is there
Yep.
anyone we need to contact? So,
Actually, before you move on that, what happens if Frontier doesn't act by the end of June?
I didn't give them a 10-year contract. If they don't, then we have to rebid it next year.
And is there penalty towards us?
No.
Oh, okay.
And if they don't act, what's the likelihood of us going with them again? Is there a way for us to say, you know what, thanks Frontier, but we're done with you?
We can set the waiting, we can wait the bids if we have to.
Is that something you can do, or do you need that to come back to the board? Because
No,
I'm happy for us to.
I have
as a
a E-rate
board,
consulting
publicly
team that helps me with all of that.
Okay.
So
Let us know if in a public meeting that's broadcast to the county and beyond, if we need to prompt Frontier further, we'd be happy to, I think. Thank you.
Yes.
Right.
No, you're fine. Oh. Say it. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that I might have just changed my phone numbers because I wasn't happy with service on my business? Is that what you're trying to say? Because that's what I'm saying I did. All right. That's not
Any
not
other
board
any other
business. I
comments?
apologize. Yeah.
Questions?
So this out of pocket, does this continue as we can, so out of pocket with like Zito, are these, I'm confused. These are proposed solutions or we're actually using this and this is what we're paying monthly for this internet?
Page 7.
Page 7.
Yeah, so you're talking the proposed solution. So the top table is what we will be paying monthly. So the first column's the monthly occurring cost, and then you have to I did the annual, and then you take away the 70% for the E-rate funding, and the district cost is the 2 at the end.
Okay.
And then I did our current solutions, our current providers, and I calculated all that out. We basically save $28 a year.
But we have better internet, more connection.
Yes.
Okay.
So along those lines, megabyte versus, is that megabyte per second on the second side?
Yes.
Is that a typo that in Mountain Valley, we're going from 800 to 25? Are those 2 rows perhaps switched?
No, yeah, those are switched. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I just want to make sure we were good there. And are we going from? Okay, never mind. I apologize. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Mac?
Mac, I did have one more. Thank you, Dr. Byers, by the way, for not, for answering half of my questions, more than half of my questions. The repairs that we've done, so slide 2 of your project or of your presentation.
Yep.
We've done 479 this year, 357 last year. We still have 3 months to go for this year.
Yes.
Is the age of the devices what's increased that by a third, our repairs?
I didn't look and see the specifics of it, but maybe.
Okay. Or are kids just being more destructive? They're actually using them instead of sitting at home.
Maybe
not
they're actually using them this year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything else?
I had that question too, but I just want to say, good job. I hope Owyhee will be happy along with the other ones, but that's a biggie. I mean, I know you've been wanting that for a long time.
Only 5 years in the making, plus the years that Dwayne did before me.
So thank you.
Well, Mac, I just want to say thank you because I know you've had some of these projects on your list for a long time and it's great to see them.
Yep.
You'd be able to get them to come to fruition. So, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, we'll move to item 3.1, our consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Chair votes aye and the consent agenda is approved. Item 4.1 is a report from our NASB director.
All right, I've got a good one for you today, folks. We had a good weekend. Heading out, there were 2 different days. Friday was our day with the legislature, and then Saturday was our a training day. I was there with Trustee Ballard and Trustee Dastrup. President Dastrup was there. So you both feel free to jump in at any time if I missed something here. But I'm just going to kind of go through both days and how they went. Friday kind of started out as what I thought was going to be a disappointment because the legislature decided the snow was enough to call sessions for the day. So we were not able to go and sit on the floor or in the balcony while they were actually working. But what that ended up happening was as we were having our meetings kind of a gathering coffee meeting in the morning, we had a continual stream of Assembly and Senate coming through just to say hello, say a few words, and kind of answer some questions for us. And for me, it was really informative, just kind of getting a lay of the land. We were invited to we had an assemblywoman who was just elected, Angie Taylor, who used to be a part of NASB and was very cordial with us and giving us lots of good information. She invited us to one of the committee meetings. It was on House Bill 167 that had to do with dementia. And it wasn't for me, it was great just to go in there and see the process of how that works. And I honestly didn't understand that you could call in as a citizen or an interested party, and you can leave public comment during these committee meetings. So as you'll notice in your emails, I sent out a legislative update that we got from our lobbyists there. And that lists out a few bills. So if anybody's interested in commenting or hearing those, you can go online and tie right in with those. And you can call in if you have a comment, either positive, neutral, or negative on any bill. And it was really cool seeing how they took those comments. And I felt like they really do listen, and they really do take those into account. So that may be something valuable for us to look forward to as things that affect our district, possibly to get in on those meetings. So yeah, after the committee meetings, we were able to hang out with her a little bit and ask some questions and get some more familiarity with what goes on. And then after that, we had an invite. Our friends from Carson City were able to line up a visit to, it was Eagle View Middle School. Eagle Valley Middle School. I'm sorry, Eagle Valley Middle School. And that was a really interesting visit for us because we got to see how they'd taken a school that I believe was built in the 80s. And they'd done 2 different upgrades to it. And it really turned it into almost a new school. And they had some really innovative ideas with what they did there. One of them, curiously enough, was the bathrooms. They had the restrooms, if you can imagine just walking down a hallway, and instead of having a doorway to the restrooms, it was kind of an open, I would say a 15 to 20 foot gap. And on one side you had sinks, the other side you had 4 doors that would go to individual stalls, and they were floor to ceiling. So it was a private room. But what they said is that it had actually really cut down on discipline problems because you didn't have people hanging out inside the bathroom. It was all kind of open and a unisex too. So it wasn't, it was kind of a shared situation, but still everybody had their privacy where needed. So I did take a picture or 2 of that, and that was a really unique idea, something we should consider as we get some school plans going forward. But they also had some really neat CTE labs they had added on. Another one of the highlights to that was a lot of the construction was open and had like the HVAC lines, water lines, things of that nature were all up in the ceiling, but they were labeled. And so the kids were able to actually see those things, how they worked in practice, and not just, just a blank wall to look at. They were actually learning something from every little part of it. Lots of open space, lots of windows. And I felt like the updates that they did to that school really transformed it, from 1980s right into modern times. That kind of concluded our first day there. And then the second day we went to our orientation 3 class, it was called. And I did have a conversation with the executive director, Rick Harris, about getting some of these online and able to call in or Zoom in to him. He stressed the importance of the interactive nature of these and because we did a lot of storyboarding and a lot of question and answer type stuff, but he did assure me they do have some training programs on the way. They're developing that as they speak, but they're not able to just set a camera in the room simply because of the interactive nature. But in the welcoming, I wrote down a couple things that we got during kind of our welcome address as just things to remember as trustees. And that's kind of what they talked about, is the name of the office we hold as a trustee. And it's because the community trusts us. They trust us to make the decisions for them, for their school. But as she was speaking, she reminded us that we represent the whole county, not just maybe the district that we're in, but we represent every part of the county, all the kids there, not just our district. She stressed to please consider all types of families out there. There's different types of family units, and the decisions we make, you need to consider all those different types of families. Some good advice that I got was to make, as a board member, was to make personal connections with the staff as you go out and do visits. The secretaries and assistants basically run the place, and that's your best spot to go for information, to ask questions. and make friends with the secretary as you go on. But also don't forget about like SROs doing ride-alongs. The lunch lady getting in with food service is always a good place. And something else as you make decisions is to consider the impacts to those frontline employees. So those were some all good information. And then we really got into the meat and potatoes of the meeting, and that was some NRS. We started out with NRS 288, which deals with employee and employer relations and collective bargaining negotiations and agreements. Some brief history on that. It was actually passed in 1969 to keep teachers from striking. But it has to do with all the different ways that we have to go through collective bargaining and what needs to be included in that. And if you get a chance, NRS 288.150 is a good read. It lists out, I believe there's 23 separate items in there that need to be included in contracts, that need to be addressed. And it actually spells out in that section what's mandatory and what's not mandatory to have in contracts. So that was a good one to look at. And then in our afternoon session, we talked about financial management and oversight and NRS 354. I'm not really going to go too much in that other than to leave that out there, 354. But it just goes over a lot of the stuff and some of the things we have to deal with, especially, you know, I feel for you, Julie, having to go through the fact that we need our tentative budget in by April 15th, yet the governor's budget doesn't have to be in until June 5th. And so we're kind of guessing, especially with some of this potential money that's been talked about coming, and it is coming, what our share of that is. And you know, we'll find out, but we do kind of have to work on that. But that section, NRS 354, is what deals with all that. And we basically just talked about how budgeting plays a far greater role in government than it does in private sector. So that's what we need to do as far as our goal making and making good budgets is really beyond that, because that's how we're going to control the direction of our district. That pretty much covers that. We have an actual NASB Board of Directors meeting coming up end of April. So I'll have some more to report from that, but that's my report from this weekend.
Thank you. Great summary. I won't add anything to it.
No.
Any question or guidance? All right, we'll move on to items from board members. Item 4.2 on the agenda.
I'll jump right back in. I wanted to ask if we're going to, or if we can recognize, and I apologize, I'm gonna have to look this up real quick to get the acronym correct, but I know that some of my guys from Wendover went out and kicked some butt this last week in the
FCCLA.
FCCLA competition.
I've got the list of names, or I have those things here.
You have that?
Yeah.
Then I will defer to that, but I just wanted to make sure that they got a shout. Good job, Wendover. And we've got some kids going to nationals, looks like. So I've already been in contact with them on the private side of seeing what we can do to help get them there. So
I'm going to clarify, I do not have individual names. I'm sorry. I have a summary of what they accomplished, but I don't have individual names.
Yeah, but they,
I'll mention it.
I will say that a big part of their award was their conduct and how they handled themselves during the competition. And they were recognized for that as being, prepared, polite, well-dressed, well-spoken. They just really, really represented our district well. So kudos to them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else?
I just wanted to say I appreciate NASB and the emails that they sent. The weekly report helped me out on trying to look at different bills that are being proposed. And I just want to list 3 that parents should be looking at and what they, I'm going to anecdotally said because I didn't copy it word for word, but AB 175 changes structure for school boards in Washoe County and Clark. There was talk of changing other and all other boards and school district boards. Senate Bill 172, all minors have received contraceptives without parental consent. You might want to look into that. SB 158, put cameras in classrooms with student disabilities. You might want to check that out too. And just be aware of this. So with parents coming up to me talking about parental rights and the ability of them, what they have in the state of Nevada and where those are slipping and where those aren't. So please take a look at those.
All right. Thank you. All right, any more items from board members? Or can we-
Can I get stars put on the agenda for Wells, please?
Got it. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would just add too with that weekly report. We talked a little bit about my role as legislative liaison this past week, and I'm going to try and make sure that I get that report is just one of many things that I'll be forwarding going forward to try and keep us all informed in that and fulfill my role in that responsibility.
Thank you.
I appreciate our citizens. This is not to imply anything otherwise, but to make the link between what Jeff said and what Josh said. The legislature does listen sometimes, and we have the ability and the responsibility to communicate with our elected leaders, not just in Elko County, but with all counties across Nevada. Talk to your friends, your family, your acquaintances in the other counties, because what happens in the legislature can be affected every 2 years with elections. So not only get involved now with some of these, but continue to be aware of what the election cycle is, so that if folks aren't doing what you ask them to do, there's the opportunity to replace them. Additionally, FBLA regionals are next week. They are held in Elko. There may still be a need for judges. You don't have to be subject matter experts. You're basically giving these students the opportunity to practice in front of a live person and then give feedback back. So reach out to your high schools for the FBLA advisors to see if they need additional judges, and I'm happy to be contacted as well if anyone needs anything. Thank you, Madam President.
All right. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 5.1, our superintendent's report.
Thank you. I do have a bunch of things to cover here. So first, I'll end with the happy stuff. Susan, if I can just get a clarification, when you say stars for Wells, are we talking about the person who won months ago and we just want to, okay. Yep.
Yes.
All right, on it.
And she has confirmed that she will be there.
Yes, perfect. All right, so you may have noticed that, I want to say it's Canizaro and Yeager, both, there was something published from the Democratic caucus, I think is what it was. They're the leaders of that. I'm probably getting the wrong wording in there, but anyway, they published something semi-recently that basically indicated they would be summoning all 17 superintendents as well as the state charter authority to Carson City to explain how they would make use of $2 billion of funding, as well as the $250 million that the Democratic Party has also said that should be committed to that. So they very much want to know. Jeff pointed out an obvious problem with that, and that is we don't know what our portion of $2 billion or 2.25 billion, I guess, is going to look like. We are doing our best to maybe talk about what sort of, money contributed as X% to X priority would reflect. But it's hard to know exactly how we're going to spend that when they want to hear from us before our budgets are due and before we even know how much is going to be in our budget. So that's a tough one to figure out. Furthermore, while not trying to be difficult, they have offered 2 dates that are impossible for me because I have other commitments on those dates. So I'm trying to work out if they will allow a different date and or if I can send a representative in my place. Which is not ideal. I would very much like to be there to speak individually, but they've also indicated that it only in person will do, no virtual option. Yeah, you can draw your own opinions from that information. But what I do want to add is there is also growing sentiment that the superintendents who, when they go to do this, they are inviting board presidents, they are inviting other board members who wish to go there and also speak freely to these legislators about what our plans are as a district, and basically to let them know that this money is in good hands and we plan on doing good things with it. So a little bit of frustration there with with being told when and where and how to appear and what to say when we don't have all that information. And it's so just want you to know we're trying to sort out the details of that. And if just you can text me privately if you're interested in going along for that presentation, so to speak, then be happy to have you come with. And I think that, and this, I guess this goes for my colleagues. You're also welcome to join, and really any public, if there's anyone from the public who's willing to come along and speak on behalf of how much we care about education and what we plan on doing to make use of that. And you know, we have to play nice, right? Because that money is important to our schools. But it's also important to note that we are drastically underfunded. And while it will be nice to get some more funds into our school districts, that funding needs to be ongoing. And we can only be held accountable in as much as we are funded appropriately. Our level of accountability should be commensurate with the level to which we are funded, I guess is where I'm going with that. You can't give your kid $1, say go buy a gallon of milk, and then be angry at your kid when he doesn't come home with a gallon of milk, because $1 is not going to buy you a gallon of milk. So you might get a quart or a pint, probably more accurate. Yeah, half a pint. Thank you. So well, you could tell who does the grocery shopping in the house. But it's clearly not going to get you what they think it's going to get you. So that's the sentiment but again, still trying to play nice, right? And understanding that we need to be respectful. And sometimes people just don't know what they don't know. And I think that's what we're going to try to do our best is to, and we've already, you guys all supported the invest document of what we would do, right? So we've already kind of laid out exactly what we'll do, or not exactly, but the areas that are of importance, and that funding obviously will go to those things, but the exact dollar amounts impossible to know right now. So we're going to do our best to have that information ready, but let me know if you're interested in coming along, even though I have no date or time right now.
That document was prominently displayed, by the way, in the legislature.
Perfect. That's awesome. Thank you. All right. So that was kind of the GER item that I had on my mind. Now for some good things to share. So our STEM fair concluded last week, and we're going to have a couple of opportunities to honor those kids. The first and second place winners are both Owyhee students. Our first place winner from last year is again the first place winner, Tiavi Melendez. And then Madison Jones got second place. An Elko High School freshman named Sophia Gaitan got third place. And there were more than 461 projects that were entered at the STEM fair. Just awesome. So when we go to Owyhee, we're going to hold off till when we go to Owyhee to honor to recognize those two. And is that my 3-minute timer? Do I have to stop? Just kidding. And then the first meeting in April, we will have the Elko High School freshman Sophia come be recognized. So, and then the poster winners from Mountain View Elementary, a 4th grader Elizabeth Kellum, and Northside Elementary had a 3rd grader Diane Ruby, and Kate Wallace, a 7th grader from Adobe Middle School. So they were their posters won. So congrats and thanks to everyone who contributed to the STEM fair, and it's continuing awesomeness year after year. Elko High School speech and debate attended the region, our region's national tournament qualifier, if that makes sense. There were 15 schools that had 247 student entries, and our 20 students from Elko High School were very successful. There were 24 event finalists and 10 national qualifiers, with Megan Dwyer, whose name you will recognize from having sat over where Esteban is sitting. She was a qualifier in Lincoln Douglas debate, Justice Siratek and House Congressional debate, Tayton Baith and House Congressional debate, Tommy Lee Spurger, I don't know which one, dramatic interpretation, Ariana Brown, House Congressional debate, Kiara Hernandez Duarte, qualified in 3 categories of Senate Congressional debate, original oratory and duo interpretation, Danica Evans in duo interpretation, and Draken Spackman in humorous interpretation. And they won the team honor for top congressional debate team. Megan Dwyer was the region student of the year. And this is impressive in and of itself, but it's important to notice that the speech and debate tournaments, they do not delineate by 1A, 2A, 3A, 5. It is all just state speech and debate. And so our kids did awesome. They compete against every school in the region, and congrats to them. Wendover High School's FCCLA chapter went to the FCCLA State Leadership Conference in Reno last week. They came home with 8 first-place medals, 5 second-place medals, and 13 students who qualified to compete at nationals this July. And they also won the Outstanding Chapter Award, which is given to one chapter selected by those running the convention. And as Jeff mentioned, some of those things based on good behavior, respect, professionalism, and dress in action, FCCLA, and school spirit. They were very deserving of the honor. So congrats to our West Wendover High School kids in the FCCLA. Another piece of good news, ECSD's behavioral health unit, which we often refer to as our social workers. They have reached a pivotal point in our program, and that we can now offer limited therapy services in the school setting. And this is due to ECSD applying for and being accepted as a social work board approved site for student clinical interns. And one of our social workers, Sarah Johnson, did obtain her clinical intern status. And so we're getting the ball rolling on there to be able to further expand offerings for support for our students and behavioral health. So that's amazing. Good work to Larry, Rob, and obviously Sierra and everyone else who contributes so much to expanding that. And then tomorrow, if you have time, I'm not going to list the exact times, but the choir, the Northeast Nevada Music Zone / ECSD Choir Adjudication Festival is going to be held at the Performing Arts Building. And it'll start at 9:15. They'll break for lunch around noon, and then they're back at 1:30 until 4. And it'll be just choirs from all around our secondary schools, and they'll be adjudicated there. So if you have a chance, even 15 minutes, it looks like they go in half-hour increments. But if you want to pop in and for 15 minutes, watch a couple of choirs, get adjudicated, it's fun, and they always appreciate support. And last week we did have the small state band and orchestra festival, I guess. And that was so great to see that auditorium filled. I know there was this sentiment that this is for Elko High School. We had Boulder City from down in near Las Vegas up here. We had kids from all across the state, and they chose our building and our community. And that's good for a lot of reasons. And so really it was great to see that full. I think we need more parking, but other than that, it was an awesome opportunity, and really highlighted our amazing district and the talent we have there. So there's that. And then the last thing I will say, just as a follow-up from last week, is our strategic plan framework survey is available. It's been emailed out to staff, to parents, to kids, and we've already got I think we're over 500 responses at this point in just the handful of days it's been out there. So we're getting lots of feedback. And as soon March 28th, we're planning on, the survey is going to kind of close earlier in that day, and I'll have the statistics and everything from that to share with you. And you can anticipate that being on the agenda for the 28th to approve or whatever we want to do with that. And that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Anderson? All right, seeing none, we will move on to item 6.1, which is approval of the accounts payable.
Move to approve the accounts payable.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Abstentions or disclosures?
NRS 281A.420 requires me to disclose that I have a close relative who's employed by Wells Rural Electric. I will not abstain from voting because a reasonable person in my situation would not be materially affected by this conflict of interest.
Ditto to Brooke. I will disclose but not abstain. Any other questions or discussion before we proceed to vote?
Just nice to have that clarification so we can put it all in one.
That's right. All right, all in favor of approving the accounts payable, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Chair votes aye, and the accounts payable are taken care of. Item 7.1 is a final opportunity for public comment. All right, please.
Thank you, President Bastrop and members of the board. I didn't sign up to speak at this time, but I've had a couple of thoughts. So thank you for this opportunity. One thing Mr. Durham brought up was about staying in touch with the legislature. And just for everyone's information, in case you don't know, our rural legislators, Senator Goycochea and Bert Gurr, Assemblyman Bert Gurr, conduct a Thursday phone call, and where their constituents can call in and ask questions. And I would be happy to provide anybody with the information how to connect with that phone call. I think Mr. Anderson has my email number, so anybody who would like to get that information, just shoot me an email. I will send you that information back. There's also, you probably all know, but I don't think that Mr. Durham specifically named it. There is a website called NELIS, Nevada Electronic Legislative Information System, I think, NELIS, that you can go find online. That is a very good way to track legislation and look up bills. And that is one of the ways you can comment on bills. Another thought that I just had as you were talking about some of the great examples of students and successes, you may or may not be aware, and I apologize that I don't remember her name, but for the Boys and Girls Club, Elko, the student of the year for the state of Nevada is from Elko. And that, that's just something you may be interested in, want to communicate about. Last comment I have is really a suggestion for all the members of the public who are here, or this may be more helpful to members of public at home watching over the internet. It would be possibly really helpful as you're looking at Mr. Robinson's report or Mr. Smith's report or policies, if you could put those documents up on the screen as you're discussing them. Sometimes you refer to a paragraph such and such in a policy. And if, I have my phone and I usually do the agenda and I'm usually trying to follow along, but it could be very helpful to have those things up on the screen as you're discussing them. Not that you have to do everything the same way everybody else does, but I'll just note going to city council meetings and county commission meetings, that's what they try to do is up on the screen, they put those documents to the degree they can while they're discussing them. So that's just a helpful suggestion for the public. Thank you.
I appreciate that suggestion. We can certainly something we can do.
All right.
Can I jump in with one more thing? I'm so sorry. This is a selfless, shameless,
Yes, 1 second.
Selfish, shameless plug. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 7:30, and then Saturday at 2 o'clock. GBC Theater is doing a production called Anything Goes. It's a Broadway show. I'm performing in it, and there are teachers from our district. There are other employees from our district. There are students from Spring Creek and Elko High School. There are there's an orchestra directed by Walt Lovell. There are so many connections in this production, and I obviously enjoy the arts, and I think that we should support that in our community. And so, go support the arts in our community and go see that show at GBC for the rest of this week.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll move on now to item 8.1, which is adjournment of the meeting. Thank you. Everyone have a good night. Meeting is adjourned.